I guess this is the same link. Some of this stuff just never looks the same. I do like my image quality today. It looks better. Unknown man says, yo, bro. Well, hello, yo, bro. I see you there. All right, so chat works there. I can see that. I can go ahead and get started with work. Put this over here where I could see it. All right. If people want to pop in, they can pop in. Welcome. I am at Pruitt. I am getting ready to work on some images that I shot last night for high school playoffs. I got to get those published. Should have published them. Should have uploaded them last night, but I knew the approving people were not going to touch it until maybe tomorrow because it's the weekend. And so it's just not going to, I wasn't going to stress about it, but I am going to try to get this done. Hello, Tony Seibert. Hello, Miko. Miko, as far as the camera I'm using, I am using my Blackmagic 6K, and I'm using my 24-105 Canon EF glass. I love that thing. It is just like a utility lens, you know. It may be my favorite. It may be my favorite lens because it's just utility all around. I wish it was the f2.8. They finally released an f2.8 24-105. I may get it one day in the future. I'm not promising that because it's pretty pricey. But this one here is an f4, and I love this lens. But thank y'all for popping in. I hope y'all hear me okay. I'll move the mic up some. Just a touch there. So what I'm doing is hopping in and working on these sports images. If y'all have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. I'm watching my chat while I'm working. Normally I have music going, but probably shouldn't have music going right now with all of the copyright stuff going on with YouTube. So that's a little weird for me, but let's go ahead and hop into Lightroom and just start my culling process here. So I'll pull up my desktop here. Ooh, you have the 70-200 f4. Yeah, my son has the f4. I have the f2.8 70-200. I use that a lot in these images that you'll see tonight, or now. It's not tonight, it's morning. All right, so what I do is I use Lightroom to manage all of my photography. I know people have their beef with the Adobe products and the subscriptions and all of that, and I get it. Adobe products are expensive. They are. I get it. But they freaking work. Okay? They work for everything that I need them to do. And I know that there's a lot of free options out there. I know that there's a lot of open source options out there and all of that. But every pro that I know in photography, they've tried all of those products and they always come back to the Adobe products. Wonder why. So, yeah, I'm in Lightroom, and I like to use it to catalog my images throughout the year and archive them and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and just hop through. Looks like I captured 307 images last night from the game, which is a little light. Normally it's about 500, 600. So I'll go through these and just sort of quickly see what I like. And I also tend to turn the caps lock key on. Let me hide my dock here. Y'all don't need to see the dock, so let's hide the dock. Let's see, dock settings. And I think there's an automatically hide. Yep, there we go. There, we don't need to see the dock. Right, so anyway, as I was saying, normally I get about 600 or so. So this is a little light, and this is going to be interesting to see what's captured in here. And shooting with these high school games, some of them have really, really, really dark gems. It's unfortunate. So that means my camera settings for the shots are always not necessarily what most people would want to shoot, but you have to do what you got to do. I tend to shoot at 1/500th of a second or 1/400th of a second. Every now and then I'll accidentally change my shutter speed to something slower, and that's not good. But I use those two shutter speeds just because I need to freeze the action because it's sports. And I try to open my lens up as wide as I can. This particular lens is an f2.8. I also shoot with a long telephoto f5.6 400 millimeter. It can't go any wider than 5.6, so it is what it is. And then ISO, it depends on the lens. I usually do about 4,000 or so for the 70-200 in a dark gem like this. But that 5.6 is definitely a lot higher on ISO. It's usually around 6,400, sometimes 8,000. Just again, it depends on the gem. Not all the gems are created equally. And they're usually pretty dark, with the exception of there's 2 gems here that are actually well lit. And but that's not tonight's, or that's not this one. So let's go through this one here right off the bat. I'm going to go ahead and tag it with a 6, because 6 gives me a red color. And if you look down here in the bottom, that red shows up on the thumbnail view, the film strip view. And a tip, if you use a caps lock inside of Lightroom, and every time you tag something, like if I go to remove this tag, it just moves to the next image. It does what it needs to do and then moves to the next image, so you don't have to keep hitting the arrow key. But let me put that back because I need that red tag to be there, because those are going to just be deleted. That one's cool, so I skip through. These are cool. This one is a no-no. And the reason these images are a no-no, when you're doing with sports, you want to make sure you try to get a good action shot, and you want to try to get faces in there. You definitely want to try to get the ball, and you want to try to fill the frame of at least 2/3 of the frame of the shot. It helps out with, telling the story. Miko says he uses Luminar and he switched because of the Ukraine. Yep, you're right. I remember that. Push. All right, so this one is a no, so I'll mark it no. That's another no. This one is okay, but it doesn't look like it's in focus, so I'm gonna hit next, come back later. Not in focus, not in focus, not in focus, not in focus, not in focus. Oh, these are horrible, Ant. That's more in focus, and it looks okay. He's filling the frame, got the ball, it's got his number, so I'm gonna keep that as is. That's another good one. Keep it, keep it, keep it. All right, and then if you look at these images, this is a different lens. Notice this at f5.6, because that's that long 400 millimeter. And then look at the ISO, it's 8,000. It's crazy high ISO. But fortunately, the tools in Lightroom, the AI tools, as far as noise reduction, is so good now. And you'll see, I got a whole workflow here. If I'm doing an average night of going through a game shoot, I'm usually done with post-processing and uploading and all of that within about an hour and a half. I've gotten it down to an hour and a half, going through about 500, 600 shots. I'm not going to do all of these. I just want to do a handful. This is a no. Yes. Nope. Not going to keep that one. Don't want to keep this one because he's out of focus. Just doesn't look right, and it just doesn't add to it. This is the hero of the shot right here. This guy doesn't really help tell a story. He's sort of looking away, so that's a no. Get it out of there. Now he's totally covering them up in the frame. That happens a lot in sports. People will, or other players will run across your frame. You know, they don't care that you're over there taking photos. They're doing their job. Same goes with the officials and referees. So be mindful of that stuff. You're not going to be able to avoid it. I try to set myself up in certain positions in the playing space to where I can minimize that happening between the players walking through the frame, the officials walking through the frames, or even the daggum fans that continue to just walk back and forth instead of sitting down and watching the game, you know. So that's that. All right. So that's a no. That's a no. That's a keeper. Keeper. Nope. I like this shot, but it's not in focus. So that's a no. It's a no. I like this shot. Focus is okay. So we'll keep that one. I like that one better. And I probably should have turned my phone notifications off. Hey, Mr. Ozone Nightmare, Mr. Esposito, good to see you. Thanks for being there. All right. So let's pop through. And also, if you folks, again, if you have questions about these, just throw them in the chat. I also have Super Chat available there if you want to help support the channel. I appreciate that. Let's see. So no on that one, no on that one. And yeah, you can see that I'm missing focus on some of these. Like, look at that, you know, but that happens. You're not going to nail every shot, especially when it's dark like that. This is a lot easier when it's broad daylight. This is a no. I don't even know why I took this one. What's the point of that? Out of focus. Good focus, but I screwed up the frame. I cut his head off, but that's good focus. So that's a no. Maybe I should kill my phone notifications. Let's do that. Yeah, I don't need to hear all that. No. If this guy wasn't here, this image would be okay. I need a better way of viewing these pop-up chats over here. Every time I move, it gets hidden. So let me fix this. So let's see if I can dock it or something. Yeah, I'll dock it right there. Maybe I could see it a little bit better. There we go. Yeah, that's better. All right, now back to business. So this is a no. Still a no. Still a no. That's a cool shot, but he's only in about half of the frame. So no. That's a cool shot, but I can't use it for MaxPreps. I can use this shot for others, so some other, just personal posting or what have you. But I can't use it for MaxPreps because everybody's backs to the camera. You can't really see their faces, because MaxPreps wants to be able to help identify the players when they're doing their recruiting reports and all of that stuff and covering it and so forth. And Ozone Nightmare says in the super chat, thank you, sir. Do you ever mess with doing weird experimental stuff with your photos, either to see how they look or just as a way, what does that say? Or just to see what different effects do to the images? Yes. I do experiment from time to time. And a lot of times that stuff never goes out to the public. It's usually just for me, but that's part of the process of figuring out number one, trying to figure out what your style is. I pretty much know what my style is now, but every now and then I want to try to step outside the box. And every now and then when I step outside the box, I realize I don't like being outside that box. I like who I am. When it comes to shooting this genre, when it comes to shooting sports stuff, I'm fairly clinical with it. I guess that's the word to put it. I want to see the person fill in the frame. I want to see the ball. I want to see implied motion. You know what I mean? And then when it comes to the effects on it, at the most, I will switch it from color to black and white, or I'll really, really texturize it. But if someone wants a graphic or something, then yeah, I'll go crazy with some of the effects and do some outlines and things like that. Because every now and then people want graphics. And, I had to do a graphic for my son. Well, I didn't have to, but I did a graphic for my son when he committed to Oregon, so. Hey, Photo Waltz, Mr. Jefferson Graham. Thank you. Good to see you. Tony Seibert with the $10 super chat. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. All right. So, but yeah, this image here, I can't use it for MaxPreps, but I'm not going to mark it red because I could use it for something else down the road. So let's skip through. These shots are okay because they're good for profile images of the player. So I'll keep that one. This one's out of focus, out of focus. All right. I'm going to skip through a lot of these because I don't want to be on here for 2 hours and let y'all see the whole thing, because that's pretty boring. But I'm just going to bump through a handful more. That one ain't bad. This one ain't bad. This one's pretty good too. But again, these are so dark. I hate that. So let me, all right, so let's go back to the beginning. I'll just go ahead and start processing one or two. All right, so let's start with this one. So now I'm in the library. I want to jump into the develop module inside of Lightroom. And you can just literally click up here at the top for that, or you just hit D on your keyboard. It takes you right into it. All right. And since I've been doing this for a while, I have presets over here that I've created in the past to help speed up workflow. And over here, let me see if I can move that out of the way so you can see. There, remove that. But if you look over here, I got these little presets and they're based on whatever gym I've been in. And what I found recently, even though this is the St. Vincent gym, my preset for RCHS, which is Rancho Cotati High School, this particular preset here, it seems to give me a good starting point for all of these gyms, even the ones that are well lit. It's a pretty nicely lit gym, but I had to do a whole lot of manipulation with it because there's so much red in their gym, and that red reflects up off the floor onto the players. And so I took some time with it, but I tend to just go ahead and start with that. So I'll just click here, and then it gives me that new look there. But again, over time, you start to learn different tips and tricks. So I'm going to undo that. I've learned that with this new AI tool Lightroom has, as far as doing noise reduction, it's so much easier and gives a better result to go ahead and run that tool before applying the presets or any of the extra adjustments to exposure and so forth. And so it's going to open up and think, and I'm going to move this back over here like so, out of the way. All right. And I like how they give you this little preview window. I tend to pop out. Uh-oh, I'm running out of memory. Ooh, bro. Running out of memory on the Mac. That ain't good. So, anyway, I tend to pop out. Hey, Joe. Good to see you, sir. Mr. Leica Joe. And far as the noise reduction, I like to look at the skin because that's what's going to matter the most. Okay. And if I take this all the way down, you can see the noise is there because I freaking shot at ISO 8000 because I had to. But if I crank this all the way up, I don't think that looks good. I think it smooths people out way too much. And when you're doing sports stuff, you don't need them looking like models, in my opinion. So I try to find a happy medium and I play around with it. I've noticed most recently it's been between about 45 and 55 on the scale. So I started, let's just say like 50. Yeah, we'll go to about 54 or so. And then I'll just hit enhance and I'll wait. And it's going to keep processing. But I'm not going to sit here and wait on this to continue doing its thing. I typically just move on to the next image and I'll look at the little film strip at the bottom and it gives me indicators to let me know what's going on. So again, keeping up with getting this shit done in a timely fashion, I just move on to the next one that's not marked red. And this one isn't marked red, so I can look at that. And if I want, I do the noise reduction here. But since I'm already getting this memory warning from the Mac, I'm not going to do that and try to choke my computer. So I'll just continue to wait on this particular image for demonstrations purposes, if you will. But it's good to see y'all. Appreciate y'all popping in here and supporting me. Means a lot. I don't do this live stream stuff very often. And, now it's football season is over. So I got a little bit more time. So until track season kicks up, because Saturdays get filled with track days too. So trying to get this stuff in while I can. All right. So now this noise reduction is done and that looks pretty good. I mean, it's still smooth them out just a touch too much in my opinion, but it'll still work. So let's take a look at the before and after. So this is what it was before right there. And then this is the after and it smoothed it out. Now, exposure on this needs to be worked on, but of course it's going to be dark because I needed to freeze the action. This is when I go to my presets over here. So I hit that RCHS preset and it gives me a good starting point. My white balance looks pretty good. The white actually looks white, but it's just a little dark. So I'm going to push this exposure slider, bring it up a little bit. Yeah, I think it went a little too far on that noise reduction because this guy is starting to look like a cartoon to me. But I got to tell you, people love that. It's not my thing, but I'm going to give the people what they want. They love that. And they order these prints with this type of look. It's, again, not my thing, but hey, if it's going to buy me a Baconator burger, I'm cool with it. So, and the next thing, again, make sure you got your exposure right, but then this thing needs to be sharp. It can't be, blurry. And again, my preset is already squared away with sharpness, but I like to double check one more time. This masking button right here, I don't think people utilize it enough. Let me show you how it works. If you hold down Alt, I believe. No, it's Option. It's Alt on Windows and it's Option on the Mac. If you hold that down and move this slider for masking, it gives you this little overlay. Okay, so this is all the way to 0, and then this is all the way over to the right. Okay, at 100. And what that's doing is the white sections on here is telling you this is what Lightroom is going to sharpen when you move the sharpening tool. So I don't need to sharpen that wall back there. Okay. I just need to sharpen the players. So I try to get right along here because it gives me just enough of the players, in particularly their hair and their jerseys, like so. And I'll leave it at that. But if I pull it all the way over, this is only sharpening their faces and their edges. And it looks okay, but it depends on your use case. I need to dial it back. So I'm usually right around 20% or so. Just depends on the particular shot, depends on the, the movement and so forth. And you don't want to over sharpen too, because the over sharpening will give you these weird artifacts on the edges. This looks good. There's no artifacting or haloing around the edges. That's just noise. And I'm just going to touch this noise over here just a little bit, But another thing about noise reduction that a lot of people don't quite understand, you have different levels of noise reduction. You have the luminosity noise and you have the color noise. Most of the stuff that people shoot that have noise, it comes from the luminosity, the brightness and darkness of the image. But sometimes you have color noise that tends to screw around with the skin. So make sure you take a look at that. I'll look at this particular image here. So let me zoom in, and Lightroom gives you a little tool here to zoom in too. So let's take a look at the difference between if I move the luminosity and the color noise is going to smooth out that background. And it just barely did it. And his skin was okay, so it didn't affect his skin, but that background, it definitely had some noise. And now I'll attack the luminosity, and it'll really straighten things out. So that background got better like that. But I don't want to go too far because it already has noise reduction on it. So I'll just do just a touch like that. And that should be good to go. So let me back out as the computer is like, hey, I don't have enough memory. Stop, slow down. Live streaming, running Lightroom. Good gosh. And like a Joe says, that's what every Samsung, Huawei, and Xiaomi phone does. I believe he's talking about that crazy skin smoothing and noise reduction. Yeah, it's because people seem to like that stuff. And like a Joe, I bet you get where I'm coming from because you're a freaking awesome photographer. And I love your style of street photography. And I got a hunch you don't care to see all of this smoothing and stuff like that on people's skin. For headshots and models and things like that, fashion, it makes a ton of sense, you know, especially with all of the stuff the makeup artists do and whatnot. Makes a ton of sense to give it just a little bit of smoothing, you know, but I can't say I feel that on sports photography. All right. So now we got that done. Let's see. I'll move this here on my screen so I can see a little bit better. Let's put this back. So that image is pretty much done. Then it comes down to cropping. Okay. So MaxPreps in particular has a cropping standard. Some people, you know, some organizations will have standards for like 1:1 aspect ratio or only 16:9 or only 4:5. MaxPreps is different. You know, Lightroom has all of these cropping tools in here, over here on the right. If I drop down, you got all of these pretty standard cropping ratios. But since this is for my MaxPrep invoicing, I have to use their standard, which is a 3 by 2.216. It's a very, very interesting cropping aspect, but it freaking works because it's really versatile as far as using landscape aspect images as well as vertical aspect images. So I'll just go ahead and hit that. And it crops it down, and you can see it barely took off anything, right? So I cropped it down, moved it over, and get him in the frame and a little bit more because this is my hero in the shot. And if I want to make it a little more, I can. Nah, I don't want to do that. Let's give this guy a little more headspace, but I think that works there. Cool. Let's check these highlights a little more. Bring the highlights up just a touch. Bring that exposure up just a touch. All right, but this looks pretty good. So, and another thing is I highly recommend you keep an eye on your histogram over here. For a lot of the sports stuff that I shoot, highlights will be a problem because of the way the big lights are. But of course, not in this one, because this is a freaking dark gym. But I always want to make sure my highlights are okay. And as you can see in this histogram, the highlights are damn near 0. But yeah, so that's that. All right, so we're good to go on here. I can now export it. And this is another pro tip. Okay. If you're going to export your images, you know, you can just right click and say export like that. And it takes to the export menu. And you get this whole dialog that you can set up the sizing and if you want to do additional sharpening on export, put your watermark, all that good stuff. Where you want to put it, fine, you know. But you can make presets on exports. I export things that I need to keep for myself. I'll export things that I'm going to put to social. I'll export things that I need for MaxPreps. And it just makes it so much easier to do presets. So if you want to export to Instagram, you need to make sure you're exporting something that's cropped to the 4:5 aspect ratio or the 1:1 aspect ratio. And then the resolution can't be too high because Instagram is going to freaking compress it and make it look like crap. So make presets for stuff like that. And in this instance, I made presets for MaxPreps. So let's go back to my export menu. I even have presets for particular months, because, sometimes I got to go back and look for things based on the month. But I have a MaxPrep preset here, and it's just called Max, and it's going to give me the whole landscape version of the image, but it's going to be at the right aspect ratio. So you see right here, it says resize to fit these dimensions. Okay. Regardless of what the actual image is, because you can see this image is, what's that? Almost 30 megapixels or so. And, we don't need it to be that big, but it's going to fit. And then you also have to make sure it's the certain pixels per inch, PPI. MaxPreps has a standard. It needs to be at 300 PPI, which is what most people should use. Let's see. Miko says, what is the mark in the right hand player's face? That mark, that is a sticker that he wears on his face. That's all that is. Those players will do stickers and stuff like that. It's pretty common over here. All right, so there, I got the preset squared away, but then there's this other preset. This one says medium vertical, max medium, small, max vertical, so on and so forth. And it just basically changes the size and quality of the image, because people will order. I've had people want to order a smaller version of the shot, but for whatever reason, the MaxPrep site breaks and they can't order it. So they reach out to me directly, and I have this preset right here because I always upload them to MaxPreps at the max image and let MaxPreps handle the resizing as far as small, medium, large on their end. It's fine by me. It saves me time. But if people reach out and it's like, man, the site keeps crashing, can I get a small version of shot so-and-so, so-and-so? I come in here, pull it up, and I export it based on these particular presets. And if you look at this vertical one, it's the same thing. It's just the numbers are switched around to handle the proper, orientation. So that's that. But I never have to go into that menu anymore, because now I literally just, since it's a preset, I just right click, say export, and all of my presets are right here. And so this is a max and it's in the regular aspect, and I just hit that, and then it goes and does its thing. And while that waits, I would move on. I don't even check. I just keep going through here, let it do what it needs to do in the background. So let's find another image real quick. And again, having these red tags on here at the bottom in the film strip helps me visually to see where I need to move on to. Okay. Just keep scrolling through. It's red, red, red. Nope. Skip it. Red, red, red. And just keep going. Granted, I didn't do the whole lot of images, but that would definitely help speed things up. So I'm eyeballing these right now and just looking at them, and man, these things are so dark. That gem, man, it's such a hard gem to shoot in. They're so dark. So dark. But I'll try to do one more real quick for you guys. Oh, man. What's this here? All right. This one isn't bad. This one's Jack. Jack is a damn good ball player. Let's see. So another one in here. Sebastian there. Some of these players, I've shot their games a couple times. I've shot a lot of St. Vincent games, so I know a lot of these players' names now because they're always on the stat sheet pretty heavy. Where's that other one of Jack? Like, I like this one here. I like this one better. Because I like the aspect of his eyes looking ahead at the ball. You know, he's playing defense in basketball. A lot of people, sorry, this is the sports stuff coming out now for people that don't care about sports. When you're defending a basketball player, a lot of novices get caught up in all of the body movement of the guy dribbling the ball and stuff like that. When you need to be focusing on their hips or focusing on the ball. Don't focus on the player. And he is clearly focusing on that ball. And if you can figure out rhythm and all of that, you can literally stick your hand in there and disrupt the dribble and steal the ball. So, all right, that's out of the way. Let's continue with our regular workflow. We're going to go ahead and do the enhance. So to do its noise reduction, I'm not even going to touch the slider. Why? Because I know that number tends to work. And I've already done a shot in here, so it's pretty sure it's going to look good. Actually, I am going to touch it because it overdid it last time. So let's just pull it back. Pull it back to 49. Now, let it think. Check the chat here. Thank y'all for being here. If you got any questions, just throw them over there in the chat. I don't mind answering it all. And I'm going to show y'all some other images that I've already worked on from a gym that's lit. that's well, a gym that's better lit. I'll say that. I'll show you that in a second while this thinks. But the main takeaway that I can offer you all when you're doing this stuff is start building out presets to help speed up your workflow. You know, if you're a street photographer and I'm talking to you like a Joe, if you're a street photographer and you're always in the Coney Island area and it's on a particular day, particular time of day, if you will, and the weather's a certain way, do your post processing, save it as a preset. Because the next time I'm pretty sure you're going to go back again to shoot street photography at Coney Island with certain weather conditions that are fairly close. So when you come back to do your post, that preset's already there and you're already ahead of the game and saving time. You know, I can't speak for you like a Joe, but for me, being able to save time is so key because it allows me to move on to the next project. You know, if I'm working on something that's, you know, someone's paying me for something, I want to get this done because I want to get to the next project that's paying me and get it done too, so I can go out and pitch for more projects that's going to pay me, you know. So it's time is super valuable, you know. So as creators, yes, we are paid for our skill set, but our time is the most valuable part in that, you know. So I highly recommend figure out how to make the most use of your time and put some value on it. All right, so this one has gone through the noise reduction and it looks doesn't look as cartoony. So, but I'm going to try it one more time. So I'm going to undo it and then I need to get rid of it because what happens is it gives you a whole new file. It gives you a DNG file down here at the bottom. So I'm just going to remove this photo and delete it from the hard drive. And then we'll try to run it again, enhance, just to see what it looks like. I'm going to take it down a little lower. All right, let's say 38 or so, and then hit enhance, and it's going to think. All right. While it's doing that, I will take a look over here at my chat again. No questions. Thank you again. And for everybody that's been curious about other ways to support the channel and the show that I do with Queen Pruitt, I did reopen my Patreon account. I just got it set for one tier right now because I'm not real sure how I want to do Patreon, but I set it up for one tier. And just go to patreon.com/AntPruitt or go to antpruitt.com/Patreon. And you can check it out there. Just one tier for now. If I want to do different tiers, I'll figure it out later. But right now I'm in the middle of working on some other photography community things with some other people. So I'm trying to limit or not really limit, but I'm trying to make sure I balance things out to where I'm not running myself into the ground doing too much stuff. So, all right, looks like this finished up. So let's go back over here. And that doesn't look as bad when I first glance at it. Cool. So let's throw the preset on. Boom. All right. Color looks good. Another thing to consider when you're doing these is the saturation and vibrance. Notice I have the saturation set to just 4 and the vibrance to 10. There's a difference between the two. The saturation is the overall level of intensity level of color in your image. The overall intensity level of color in your image, that's saturation. The vibrance is looking at the color levels, intensity, but it's dealing more so with the luminosity too. Particularly when you think about vibrance, think about skin tones. Okay. Let me just give you an example. So we already know this is set to 10 and 4. Actually, let me go ahead and just bring the exposure up so we can see better. There. This looks good. This is pretty much ready to go. All right. So if I take these and just make them 0, all right, we're even Steven. If I boost this saturation up to 38, it is highly saturated and that does not look good. It's too much on the skin. The jersey looks fine. That ball is it's just too much. And it's because these have different luminosity levels. So I'm going to take that back. If I crank up the vibrance, notice there's a lot more subtlety to it. And that's because it's looking at the luminosity, and what it really attacked was the skin on the players. It barely touched the ball, got his skin. So let me put that back. Now let's just take the saturation, just remove it, decrease it, and let you see what happens here. All right. And now we're going to add vibrance. All right. And it still tried to attack the skin a lot more, and it got the blue on the jersey a little bit. But ideally, when you're doing color processing or color post processing, take a look at the saturation and vibrance. And most of the time, if you decrease the saturation, a stop or two, and then increase your vibrance, maybe 10 stops or so, that tends to work a lot better and look a little bit more natural when there's people involved. But if you're, it all depends on your scene, but I shoot a lot of people stuff, especially with sports. So my vibrance is going to be higher than my saturation because I really want to make sure people's skin tones look right. Okay. So let's put this up. It was about 10, but I'm gonna put it to 16. And then here we go. All right. So that looks pretty good. Now I don't think I need to mess with noise issues anymore. I'm gonna give it a little more texture. Texture is like the high frequency and sharpening, just a touch more. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna look at the noise reduction. That's fair. All right, so that's good to go. It's exposed good. His skin looks good. His eyes look good. Color. Well, wait a minute. I'm looking at this white. This white looks a little bluish to me. And sometimes that happens. So just go to your white balance and go to the temperature and warm it up just a little bit. Just a little. And you'll notice it'll also make the skin look better. There. That's good to go. So now let's crop it so it goes to the MaxPrep format. And by the way, again, save yourself some time, make a preset. You do enter a cut and you punch it in right there and you hit OK. And then it saves it over here as a custom preset. I didn't have to type this in every time. Boom. That's there. I'm going to leave it on this framing because I like that he's looking over here at the ball. Like that. Good to go. Export this baby out. Max. And that's done. Sweet. All right. Well, I showed you guys a couple images there. That's exporting now. So let me go back to the library and I'll show you some images that are in a gym that's lit a little bit better. So let's go back to this like so. And scroll up because I shot at Montgomery recently. In Montgomery, you can just see it just from the thumbnails how bright that gym is. Let's see, and those are headshots for Queen Pruitt. Oh, that's not a subject for now. But this is what I did last night and how dark the gym is versus a couple nights ago. A lot of red shots in there. Lots of red, Ant. I must have had a bad night. But like, look at these. They're so much brighter. Like this one here, this image here, this isn't even processed. But look at the histogram. It's beautiful. And this is process version of it. And this one was f2.8, 500 of a second. Still ISO 4000. You know, it's still got a high ISO, but it's much better than the other gym. So let's go back, hit G. What's another one? Like this is a darker corner of that gym. So we hit that, you know, so it's still, that's ISO 8000. It's a darker corner, f5.6, because I'm shooting on that 400 millimeter with that particular shot, but still turned out quite nicely in comparison to the other gyms that aren't lit as well. Now, I mean, all right, I am going to get out of here. I'm going to go ahead and finish up these images, but I thought I would pop in and just show you all the workflow and answer any questions about, you know, shooting some sports. Because this was just basketball, you know, because there's soccer, there's football, there's track, baseball, there's all kinds of sports that you could shoot. A lot of them still have the same principles of, you know what, make sure you get the person or the subject filling up the frame. And if it's a sport with the ball, getting the ball in there is always money. You know, it really sells the image. But sometimes you can't. But you just want to try to make sure, in my opinion, show some implied motion and show some type of story with it, you know, if at all possible, you know. And this is Steve Mars popping in. Good to see you. He says, good morning, Ant. How have you been? I am unbelievable as always, Steve. And he says, miss seeing you on Twitter. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's all good. It's what happened at Twitter happens at Twitter, and you know, business is business. I get it. I have nothing but love for my Twit squad. I still keep in touch with them. They still keep in touch with me, and I am rooting for Twit. You know, I was a fan before I was ever a staffer there, and I'm still a fan. I still watch. I don't always watch live, but I still watch. But yeah, as far as sports, there's a lot of different things to consider. I probably would do another video just going through tips and tricks, a short video that I'll pre-record, not on a live stream, and give you a bit of a checklist, if you will, something like that. I don't know. I may do that. If that's something you're interested in, let me know. All right. I'm going to get out again. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for the super chat support. Means a lot. Thanks for checking out Patreon, antpruitt.com/Patreon or patreon.com/antpruitt. Takes you to the same thing. And have yourselves a good day, evening, what have you on this fine Saturday. We're getting ready for yet another big storm here on the Pacific coast. The wind is howling out there right now. And I am going to chill out because I got 2 games to shoot tonight, 2 playoff games. And but the good thing is at that gym I just showed you. So the shots are going to look, it's going to be a piece of cake because it's going to be well lit. So I'm going to rest up because those things take a good bit of energy. So I'm just going to chill out today and do nothing. But thank y'all for being here. Thanks for all the love. Keep telling everybody about all of this stuff. Tony says he's definitely interested in that video. Okay, that's good enough for me. I will work on it. Give me about a week or 2. Okay, because I want to plot it out and get everything square. Keep telling everybody about the channel. If you're in here right now, please hit like on there. Go ahead and hit like right now so YouTube will give me some grace and favor. Thank you. All right. And I shall see you all next time. Y'all take care.